Hello, everybody. We're going to talk about the weekly forecast for June 23rd to June 29th. Now, there is some overlapping in some of the prior videos that I've created because I'm creating a lot of videos these last couple of months because there's so much going on. And you guys in my membership platforms, thank you for your support. And those of you who get to see this after the fact, this is what you're missing. Come and support this work. This is my life. This is what I do. Would appreciate some monthly support if you can. Let's share the screen and we're going to get started with, there we go. It's taken a second to show up. We're going to get started with the forecast that's coming up. And as soon as it shares, I will get started. All right, there we are. Zoom is slow. Okay, this is the current moment in time. You get to see what's going on right now as I am speaking. I am recording this on the 18th, and you can see this. And this is, I want to start with this because as I post these things early, as I always do, 3 or 4 days ahead of the week that's coming up, we're already in this pattern of a couple of yods. I mean, a couple of quincunxes that eventually turn into that double yod key. There's a blog about that on my website. So I want you to check that out too. Here's my website and go to click on blog. And as soon as it comes up, um, oh, gotta close that pop-up window. Join my newsletter. Here is the post for the Finger of God, the double yod key. It is from the 17th to the 24th. A couple of the videos I did, I actually wrote in the 19th because it's intense then too, but it really does start the 17th through the 24th until we get to the new moon, and that forecast is up as well. So don't forget to check out my website and join my newsletter. Let's go back to what I want to show us. Here we are. So we're already in the process of beginning that double yod key while we're having a couple of quincunxes, and I'll talk about them for this forecast for the 23rd through the 29th of June. But this is just as I'm recording right now. I talked about this in last week's forecast, the Jupiter, Pluto, and I talked about Mars and Saturn in last week's forecast. So let's get on to, let's see if, I don't know if I actually created them. I did. Good job. I pat myself on the back. Excuse me. Mars in Virgo, quincunx, Pluto, and Aquarius is a bit much. We already start off, excuse me, with somebody last time told me I should just get some water. So how about I just go to that? Hold on. That worked. Let's go back to the screen share. Here we are. All right, great. This is the Mars Pluto quincunx. This is when it's exact, and that's June 23rd. It's at 1 a.m. So that's why. So we'll feel this ahead of time. We'll feel this for a number of days before we get to the 23rd. So you getting this early heads up is the bonus. So you can know that when these two planets come together, they tend to be a little crabby with each other anyways, because Pluto is about that deeper transformation that is required of us. It's just that slow process from, basically from birth to the end, just on how things go and have such a deep, deep shift and change and evolution. And it's collective energy as well with this Pluto and Aquarius collective for populations. And so we know that's happening. But bring it back to now, that Mars in Virgo is wants to hone in on details, and it wants to be strategic, and it wants to be very practical. But Pluto is giving it some orders as well, since they are mathematically connected. And it's just saying that, we feel like we're in control of some things, but we feel like we're not. So as I said in the prior, yes, that video is out too. I did do a video on the double yod key and all of these quincunxes and just those. So today you're going to get in addition to those. That's why there's some stuff overlapping. And so practical results, practical uses is what we're looking for, but it's just not going to happen. It's hard happening. It just doesn't. We want to be flexible. We need to be flexible. We need to do it with intention, but then we need to do something, but hands off, right? we're at the end of the lunar phase. You can see that the moon is coming closer and closer to that Cancer sun. So we're just a couple of days away from the new moon as well. So we're in the balsamic lunar phase. So what this tells us is that we're really in a period of releasing and letting go. Because all of these yods and all of these quincunxes, there'll be 5 quincunxes total, and they're all within range. So they all are happening simultaneously. It is just like, what adjustments do we make? Again, you can see this externally. I can see it when I choose to watch the news and all the different decisions. It's like, if we do this, then that happens. If we do that, that happens. If we step back, that happens. But if we take action, that happens. It is continuously like playing a game of chess, right? So we just feel like we've made a good move for the moment, but then we have to pause and see what the results of that is. So there's another move, and then it just keeps going back and forth. And that's what it feels like. It's intense. It's intense. There's no doubt about it. The next aspect I wanted to look at while we're still in the balsamic lunar phase is also on the 23rd, and this is just at 4:30 in the morning Eastern time, and it's just the sun squaring Neptune, the sun square Neptune. I don't say just, but the squares require tension. They don't require it. It feels tension, like tension. They don't make anything happen, but we can feel the tension between the sun in Cancer, meaning how am I emotionally want to react to things. It's coming to conjunct Jupiter. That's the next aspect. That's this right here. Okay. So with this, see, I drank water. Now I'm hiccuping. Sun square Neptune. There it is. That creates, like I said, we're feeling emotional, conjunct Jupiter. It's expanding. We're feeling drained. We're in the balsamic lunar phase, so we could really feel exhausted. Ladies, you know what that feels like. You know, those few days before that monthly cycle begins, and you feel just exhausted, and you'd rather just be home alone. But instead, we're forced to live life and be out in the world. This happens. To everybody at the end of each lunar phase. And most of us just skip over that and miss it. But if you have an opportunity during the balsamic lunar phase, while the sun in Cancer squares Neptune and Aries, it's a day and an opportunity for you to pace yourself and to create a day of rest any way you can. I know we're busy, but even if you can just get a couple of minutes here and there, a little extra, it matters. So plan ahead for this. Plan ahead that you're going to want to take some Monday. It's a Monday, so it's not going to be an easy Monday for work, that's for sure. But take that break and take that step. So let yourself rest, disengage where you can, okay? And because we don't need all the answers right now, we don't need any answers right now, honestly. I know there's specific things we need answers to if we're working in our day-to-day life. I understand that. But on the soul level, on what's going on, truly what's going on is we need to smooth our nervous system a little bit. And when we can do this those last couple of days before every new moon during that balsamic lunar phase. And when we have all of these, look at all those green lines. That's what I'm talking about. That's the double yod key right there. When we have that double yod key pattern in the sky, that means there's just too much happening and we need to focus, just like I said with the chess game. I know some people are using that analogy out in the world, but it really is like that. It's just like for you, personal life, you make one step and then you wait for the other side to take a turn and back and forth. We'll get through this because we're here. We're spiritual beings. We're here. We chose to be here at this period in time, as difficult as it feels. And, I'm not missing that either. I get it. Life has not been easy in a lot of different ways. Here's Jupiter making the quincunx to Pluto. Um, it's a lot of tension. We want to, again, it's just in addition to what I've just said, because I did include the Sun Jupiter conjunction in what I just mentioned with the Sun quincunx Pluto. And just to see if I have anything else I can put towards that. Just making sure my notes are complete. Yeah, I believe this just exacerbates the the need to care and nurture for ourselves. And how are we going to do that? That's that Saturn in Aries, because, that Saturn in Aries is squaring all of this, right? It's done now, but it was in the Saturn and Mercury, the Saturn, excuse me, Sun, Jupiter were square. And that creates the need to find our own individuality as well at the same time that all this other stuff's going on. I know it can be confusing. There is a lot going on, and there's no doubt about it. So, Jupiter in Cancer, quincunx Pluto in Aquarius, Sun in Cancer, quincunx Pluto in Aquarius, and then the Sun conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. That's the sweet spot when that happens because we just there's the Sun quincunx Pluto. Gosh, didn't I already talk about that? Oh, I was talking about Mars quincunx Pluto, and then I went to the Sun without even flipping the charts. My bad. Sorry, guys. Here's Jupiter quincunx Pluto, and then here's the Sun quincunx Pluto. It's a few hours later. That's at 9 a.m. on the 24th. All right. So all of those quincunxes, creating all of those configurations called the yod, is just the misalignment, but we're seeking emotional security, family security. Um, we're we're looking to do that in this new energy, right? I know this energy is confusing, but we're doing it in the new energy of where we are now, since the world is changing. That means our energy, our vibration, what we're feeling, what's going on around us, people's fears, people's excitement, nervousness, name it, whatever it is. We're all feeling that a bit. And all of these aspects, especially the Sun Jupiter, will accentuate that, but it accentuates it. And if you get to a point where you just can't take it anymore, that's sometimes, I know that doesn't feel pleasant, but that's the purpose of this current purpose of Jupiter with the Sun in the sign of Cancer, because it just blows everything up so we can actually truly see what we want and need and how we're going to address that, what we can leave behind, old ways of processing and thinking and doing, and how we can move into something fresh and new. We'll be able to do that a few days after the new moon. But in the meantime, we're not even at the new moon yet. This chart in front of us is still not at the new moon. It's the 24th, 9 a.m. because here's the moon is still in Gemini. It's getting closer and closer to the sun in Cancer, but we still have a day before that happens. So this can be, while it sounds horrific, and I know it doesn't sound great, because it just means that we have some work in front of us, and it means that this whole week, honestly, and like I have in that prior video, in the prior the blog about the double yod key, from the 17th to the 24th, even though it's not our calendar week, it is a week of time where we're just going to be making adjustments and figuring out what we can let go of. There is a light at the end of the tunnel with this too, because we are being shown what's annoying us and what's pissing us off and what isn't working, because all of this is showing us that where we have the most trouble, it's showing us those things, and we need to address it. So we each have our own jobs to do because we're all in our own little cosmo. And that Saturn in Aries is saying, let's figure out what it is you need. We need to come back to ourselves. And the Pluto in Aquarius, which is the peak of this yod for real, is creating that. It's like, yeah, but we also need to, once we do that, we've separated well a lot. We know that. And now we're trying to figure out in our own areas what works and what doesn't work. And so some of us, not everybody, of course, division is pretty strong in some people, but we'll bring things back together. So things have gone like this, and hopefully they'll start to come back together in another week or two. In some ways, of course, not every way, but in some ways. Moon is super out of bounds when it's in the sign of Gemini and Cancer. We'll cover that next. Oh yeah, there's the Sun Jupiter conjunction is exact on the 24th at 11:17 a.m. Eastern time. I did just talk about it. I got ahead of myself on this one. Sorry, guys. Just I didn't put the charts up. It wasn't that I was ahead, honestly. Here's the new moon in Cancer. That video forecast is up as well as the written blog. So you can go check that out for more in-depth info, but it is connected, as you can see, with Pluto, with Mars, and with Neptune and Saturn. It's all separating aspects. You can see this here. Let's see, it's a separating aspect to Jupiter, separating to Saturn, separating to Neptune, separating to Pluto. Very good. The only applying aspect is the sextile to Mars, which is a bonus. So I love this for us because the new moon, again, it's a fresh start, it's a new truth, but since there is still so much energy sparking, we're still, these quincunxes are still in play. They're just done. It's like it's the after effect now. So we'll have to process, but the after effect. So those of you who love journaling or love setting new moon intentions, take this time period. This is June 25th. It's at 6:32 a.m. Eastern time. Just give yourself a couple of days. Give yourself just a couple of days. You can journal at this point if you want. You can set goals if you want. I would not recommend it, but you do what feels right for you. You know what's going on in your personal world. I do not. So take that and can just keep that in mind. I want you just to process, take the day, take the next day, because we have things also at ending numbers. Look at this. Look at all these planets are all under the 5 degrees right here. It's just astounding how much fresh new beginnings that we have going on. Let me just get rid of Chiron. I haven't used Chiron in this forecast today, so I'm just going to take it out. And I don't want to use all of the those asteroids everybody uses. It gets so clustered. Just using the 10 positions here plus the nodes is more than enough. Wouldn't you say? If you insist, let me know if there's an asteroid that you absolutely want me to work with. And if I get enough people to say the same thing, I will work with it. But in the meantime, take this new moon, work with it later, another day or so. So let's look at what the next day is and go and scroll back wherever you're at, whether you're watching this on Patreon membership or the YouTube membership. Just scroll back and you will find, or just go to my homepage and you'll find the new moon forecast, which is already out, and the blog. The written stuff is really good, you know. I put it so it gives you action steps and reading. And my spoken word, I know, is not as organized as when I write it out because I can see how disorganized it looks when I write it out. Gemini, after all, mind is a little disorganized at times. New moon in Cancer, give it a few days and then play with it. Here's the next aspect I wanted to talk about, and it's on Thursday. It's at 5:45 a.m. So that's like 24 hours after the new moon. So that moon is still in the sign of Cancer, which is the caring, nurturing energy. Everything here, this yod, I mean, this quincunx is now a separating aspect. It just will go away shortly. Mercury sextile Uranus. These are two numbers that are at 29 degrees. And this is why I wanted us to wait just a little bit for that new moon energy really to get a shift, right? To really shift away from endings and completion. Because when she's new, when the moon is new in Cancer, it's about that caring and that nurturing and having compassion for yourself and for others. And that's really accentuated with that Jupiter right next door. And with this sextile between Mercury and Uranus, both at their anaretic degree, which is 29, is the anaretic degree of any sign. And there's Mercury and Uranus like that. It tells me that there's some finalizing and some more endings of something. So it's like having those aha moments, which we can have because Uranus and Mercury create those flashes of inspiration. But since they're at 29 degrees, those flashes of inspiration, there's a couple ways this can play out, can be that you just have this aha moment on a problem or something you've been trying to work on for a long time. And this is like the final piece of it falls into place. That's one way that can turn out. and take notes, journal in this time period before you set those big intentions. Because you can do them anytime the moon is waxing. It doesn't just have to be the new moon, because the new moon is dark, and that's about internalizing things. It takes 24 to 48, 24 to 36 hours before we can see that little crescent, that new moon crescent. Take that and do that, work with it. Yeah. And the other piece of Mercury at 29 Cancer, sextile Uranus at 29 Taurus is just when we have those inspiration moments, we need space for those things to grow. So we may be shown what we need to let go of and what needs just to go away or just to be over. That's what that last analytic degree, it creates a lot of heightened focus. So there's a heightened focused opportunity here. Before we sit down in that soft, caring, nurturing, climb into bed or your most comfortable recliner in your most comfortable clothes with your most favorite music on and journal. But before we do that, we have to create space for it. Yeah. And that's what I want you to do. So think about that, figure out how that works out for you. So that is Mercury in Cancer, sextile Uranus in Taurus. And then the Sun in Cancer also makes a sextile to Mars in Virgo. And that's a real supportive aspect. So let's get to that chart because Mercury Uranus is at 5:45 a.m. And then the Sun sextile Mars is at 10 a.m. on Thursday. So to me, this is a good day that we're going to be able to in the evening, figure out what it is we want to set our intentions towards. And I like it. Here's the Sun at 5 and Mars at 5. And these are Cancer's water and Virgo is earth. Those are the feminine signs, meaning the yin sign, the receptive, allowing the flow to show. So bring that in. Mars in Virgo will help us with doing things in a very logical, practical way, and helps us to tackle or at least initiate processes around home, health, routines, patterns. It's the end of the school year for everybody here in the United States, anyways. And because that happens, it's just about done this week, which is the date I'm recording. I showed you that first chart. And but anyways, it's just like finding new patterns, new routines for what the summer is for us here in the Northern Hemisphere. You guys in the Southern, it's winter. Next, we have Mercury ingresses into Leo, and this is at 3:09 p.m., also on the 26th. This is when we can become incredibly excited and passionate. So now when you look up here at this is just the number bar. We go from 0 to 29 degrees, 0 degrees, 0 minutes to 29 degrees and 59 minutes, which is 30. We don't go into the 30th degree. So this just shows us where all the planets are, right? So almost everybody's 5 degrees or less. We only have Venus, North Node, Mercury, Moon, Uranus at the end. That just means that we're beginning as a collective. Right now, we're beginning a lot of things. Wow, are we beginning a lot of new things? It's intense. And because when anything's at the first 10 degrees of a zodiac sign, where it's fresh and new. And while the faster planets, will whip their way through there in less than a month for some of them, a month or less, then the others stay a long time. So we have this opportunity to really initiate some fresh new things. So that Mercury in the sign of Leo hasn't been there for about 11 months. It's been a long time. So Mars just spent forever in Leo. So Mercury is going to go over all the areas Mars was retrograde back in the beginning of the year. And so it's going to stir up some old memories and some old things that haven't been resolved, because I wrote it down. Let me find it. Yeah, Mars was retrograde in Leo, back to Cancer and Leo again, but it was in Leo since like back in November, and it just left there, right? Mars in Leo just left a few days ago. And so now Mercury's going to be in there, and Mercury in its retrograde phase will come up in July, so July 17 to August 11, and it will retrograde in Leo as well. And that is going to stir up things that went on between November and December. I'll do a separate video on Mercury retrograde. So Mars was where Mercury's going to retrograde. Mars was there in November 18 to December 23rd, 2024, as well as April 26th to May 5th of this year, 2025. That just means things are getting stirred up. But before Mercury gets to 4 degrees of Leo, which is where it will be when it retrogrades all the way back in August, this is a point where you can just feel driven and creative and bold and expressive and do that because Mercury is making a bunch of aspects to other planets. Let me switch my notes here. And that's Mercury will trine. Here's the first one. Mercury will trine Saturn in Aries. And there they are. So it's a fire trine. Fabulous. This is a really helpful day for long-term processing, long-term thinking. Mercury, like I said, brings in creativity. We're passionate about how we're communicating. That Mercury is thinking, writing, singing, speaking, talking, just any form of communication. Be passionate about it. Trining that Saturn. Saturn's not retrograde. Mercury's not in the area. It will be retrograde later. Perfect for action steps. So literally be vocal about what's important for you. You're going to feel confident. You should feel confident about it, but back it up with action. Speak and act. Those are things that we can do when Mercury makes that trine aspect to Saturn in Aries. Here's now Mercury trining Neptune. That's the next day. Let me get my charts out. Yeah, Mercury trine Saturn on June 27 was at 11:53 p.m. Eastern. Here, I didn't mention it. We'll just pop that chart back up. Here we are. Okay. And then the Mercury trine Neptune is at 7:58 a.m. Eastern time on the next day, so June 28. That stirs things up. And then Mercury will be opposite Pluto on the next day. So let's cover those two and then we'll finish. So Mercury in Leo, trine Neptune in Aries. This is a little bit different than the trine Saturn, but since they're so close together, we do have an opportunity to feel grounded. Since these two are so close together, we have an opportunity to feel solid and grounded and not go too far. That's to the Saturn, but to the Neptune, this can help us even add in more of what you believe in, your own empathy, compassion, understanding. It infuses us, that Neptune with Mercury infuses us with some of that. We need more of that. It's sorely lacking in a lot of places these days. And it's a good time to take an action if you need to. If you're feeling empathetic, understanding, or compassionate about something, speak up, say something. That's what this wants you to do. Now, that's very activism if you feel. This is also great energy for just for being creative. You already have the Leo energy, Mercury and Leo, so we're passionate about something. Making that aspect with Neptune, it brings in the imagination and creativity. So I like this. Stay grounded, but daydream. That's the what's the right word here? I don't know. That's just the the struggle we have between Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries. There, I know they're not exact until February, but they get really close when Saturn goes retrograde in July. That will be like July 11th, July 12th. Yeah. Saturn will be really as close to Neptune, less than a degree. So we're having that happen as well. Last, here's the Mercury Pluto opposition. This will happen once a year unless Mercury retrogrades back. And no, it won't. No, because Mercury's retrograding between the degrees of 15 and 4. So 4 to 15, back to 4 again. So Mercury's not there yet. So we only get this one aspect of Mercury in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. This opposition. Oppositions tend to mean that there's a little bit of a pushback on something that you're trying to do, whether it's your own self dialogue, that internal dialogue that you can say, oh, I can't do this. I've never been able to do this. We don't have that power. We don't have that control. But it will show up in your life, whether it's your own internalizing and you recognize it, or somebody else comes in to your situation or into your space, if you will, and shows you um, where you don't feel powerful and you push back against it. And that's that Mercury in Leo. You get to feel your voice. And Leo rules the heart. So we need to definitely speak from our heart, from a space of love and understanding and passion, right? What we're very passionate about. And so that Mercury opposite Pluto, is like when we speak up, especially if we're not really just bulldozing through something, it's when we speak up that we can make some changes that are important to us. If we try to bulldoze through things, that can be a problem. If we're resisting something, I want you to look at, because you can see that resistance will show up most likely. These two fixed energies aren't really going anywhere, but we sometimes can feel that there's some resistance about something. What are you resisting doing or believing or letting go of? What are you resisting? Because what would happen if you stopped resisting and faced something? That's the dynamic of oppositions, where there's just this tug of war, like a seesaw. Use any analogy you want when there's just, it's just like two teams playing a sport. It's just an opposition where you're challenged by something else to better yourself or to let something go or to just face it so you can move through it. Whew. Oh my God. That's freaking powerful. Couple of weeks here in June. It is just a lot to fight for and a lot to go. And I'm looking at next week's forecast because on June 30th, there are no, if you have your ephemeris, your Llewellyn. I don't have anything. I have nothing scheduled June and July. I've got very little. You guys want to do some mentoring work? Let me tell you, I have that option on my website. It's not my regular hourly rate when you do readings. It's the mentoring, and there's little packages, and you get deals. So consider doing some mentoring this summer. Just a packet of 5 or 6 classes is something that we can just whip out in the middle of the summer, focus on something that you want to learn about, that you already know about in astrology, but you want to deepen your knowledge and understanding. I'm the person you come to. I would love you to help me out with that. And yeah, because it's quiet and I want to work. June 30th, nothing. Look, there's nothing on June 30th. So next week, we have nothing on the 30th. July 1st is just lunar events. July 2nd is the first quarter moon. July 3rd, lunar events. It's like, holy shit. But that's fine because you know what? This week we just went through, I'm going to stop my share. This week the 2 weeks that we're in right now are just mind blowing. Mind blowing. Yeah. So, honestly, from the full moon on June 11 to the new moon on June 25th, we are in such a period of discovery and understanding, pushback, and it's exciting on one level. It's hard to say that looking at what's going on, but there is a piece of this. We'll see this in the rearview mirror someday. If you're old enough, things have been like this for a long time, but it's just all coming to a head, all of them. Anyways, we'll leave it there. That's enough for today. I'm sure this is about a half hour. I haven't recorded the time. Thank you guys. And yeah, please consider having a session or think about that mentoring. If you need, just message me. We can have a quick discovery call and see if it works for you. No pressure. Blessings, everybody. Namaste.